All right, welcome back, everybody. Kirsten and I have to brag because we are masters in our Audible app. We've achieved the highest level of audibleness, which is which is a great app to listen to books on, owned by Amazon. So check out Amazon and Audible. It's absolutely awesome. So we listen to a lot of our books, but we want to talk about 6 books that we believe will put you guys on the right track, get you in the right mentality, give you a little bit of a boost. And it's very interesting to see the difference in the books that we've chosen.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it at all until this morning.
Except to realize that we didn't pick the same books. That we were like,
Yes,
hey, no one's going to do the same
good.
book, and that's it. So, so here we are. So I don't know her list. She doesn't know. No, I was just kidding. She does know my list, and I do know her list. But we're going to start from there. So do you want me to kick it off?
Sure.
Okay. So the first book that we want to talk about, 6 books here. The first one of my 3 is called The Challenger Sale. The Challenger Sale. It's taking control of the customer conversation. This is by Matthew Dixon and Brett Adamson. So here's the premise, is that there are 5 different sales types. And one of the things that they did in the height of the the height of the recession in 2008, they looked at all these different sales types and all these different industries. They identified 5 different selling types, and they found one that continually had more success. So here's the 5 different sales types. There is the relationship builder, the hard worker, the one that grinds, the relationship builder, you're just really nice to everybody all the time. The lone wolf, with the relationship builder, you're too passive to get into the actual product that you have. You just think that being nice is going to win. The hard worker, the lone wolf, and the problem solver, the person who's like, I will fix anything, I'll make this go smooth. And the last one is the challengers. So the challengers, the difference is this, is that they challenge the customer's perspective about their product and the implementation and the use of it. So challengers do a good job of actually walking it and facing hard problems and hard topics. They're not afraid. They're not just trying to make the customer feel like they're always right and stuff. They come in and they say, listen, we've done our homework, we've done our research, and I need you to think about your business this way. So take real estate as an example, and this is a perfect example with buyers. Buyers are coming in and they're like, we want to wait, we want to do this. It's up to you to challenge that paradigm. Do your research, come in prepared, but you got to actually challenge it. You got to use the relationship building to get in front of the client, but now it's up to you to be the expert. So what you want to do is you need to get your customers to confront problems and make extremely tough decisions. So that graph that we showed earlier, those charts with the stats and stuff in it, you got to say, listen, guys, you're actually losing money here. Any way, shape, or form you look at this, and this is a history with real estate overall. The other thing is that when you're actually focusing on the value and solving their problems, it takes it takes the conversation away from price because you're setting yourself apart out by the way you're doing it. Also, one of the things that challengers do different is they obsess about the research they do in advance. They make sure that they know everything about the client, everything about the property, and then they bring in creative, unique solutions to solve it. That might be something you do in your business regularly. They also show, they don't tell. They make sure the client has the real data to understand it. And the last thing that challengers do that's so great is they have content specific or specific content for each decision maker that you have. So if you have a wife and a husband and they make differently, maybe the wife is like, you know what, I want to make sure we don't lose our investment, and the husband's like, I want this great feel, this nice open space and stuff. The content that you bring for each of them is going to speak to the individual. So part of your research is going to be learning what each person likes, their learning modalities, their personality types, and then bringing the content to them. I highly recommend checking out the Challenger Sale because it will really shift your perspective about how to get people to make a decision and increase the value offer.
Cool. I'm going to try and be a little bit brief on this. We're going to try and keep you on time here. The first book that I chose is called The Measure of a Man, a spiritual autobiography, and it is by Sidney Poitier. The thing that I loved about this book and where I think that it's worth reading because it can make a difference in your life is it's the story, and many of you probably know his story, but this is a story of a young man who grew up on Cat Island, a very small town in the Bahamas before TV, before electricity, and ended up moving to the US and became a very famous actor and big leader in his community. But the thing that I love about what he talks about is really looking and being able to define the things that matter in your life and then qualifying the rest of your success by what you find is very important. So for him, at a very young age, his father had said to him, and he said, regardless of the fame, the success, the money that I ever made as a young child, his father, who was a very hard worker, didn't have a ton of means. One of the things his mother and father always said was, it doesn't matter how many pairs of clothes you have, as long as you go with the clothes that you have that are very clean, they're ironed properly, and
Love
you present
that.
so great.
Yeah.
That was kind of his background, and his father always said, the measure of a man is the way that a father provides for his children. And he governed his entire life about the way that he was a role model for his family, the way he provided for his family. He sacrificed time that could have gone to other things and in order to go to his family. He was still extremely successful, but he was very clear with how he wanted to define himself as a person and governed his goals accordingly to that definition, not to the goals that society put on as to what success in his industry or in his world would be. And at the end of his life, he was extremely proud and grateful of what he accomplished personally and successfully in terms of his career, because he never let anybody else's standards define what he thought was important.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I actually haven't read that one yet, so
really good.
I got to get on that one. All right. Our next book, my next two have a common theme, and that's all about focus. The next book I want to talk about is called The Practicing Mind. It's developing focus and discipline in your life. Master any skill or challenge by learning to love the process. This is by Tom Sterner. So 3 lessons from it. Lesson number 1, completely forget about your end goal every time you work towards it. So if you're doing the work, you want to forget about the end goal. The end goal is too daunting. So you want to just get lost in the task that you're doing, get lost in the process. Because here's how procrastination happens, and I love this. It says, you realize what you're doing, and it isn't much fun because you're doing this task. You remind yourself that it's part of something bigger. You remember what that bigger thing is. You realize how far away you actually are from the bigger thing. You get discouraged and frustrated, and then you need something fun, light, and easy to do to console yourself, so you go on YouTube. And that's the way that it works. And that's the procrastination trap. So don't focus on the end goal. Make sure you plan the end goal in advance, but once you do your task, all you're focusing on is the task itself. So the other lesson, lesson 2, don't use your goals as an indicator of how much progress you've made. And this was profound for me, because one of the things you look is, let's say you want to make $200,000 in your real estate business, or $100,000. But if all of a sudden you look and you say, I want to make 200, and I did it, and now I want to make 250, or I want to make 300, now you're looking at that being like, oh, I'm not where I got to be. Like, I still like, it's okay to strive and to set higher goals, but if that's what you're focusing on, you're always going to be in this state of dissatisfaction. So look back. Look back at how far you've come. You've left your job. You've freed up time for your kids. You've done all this stuff. You've come this far. You're providing a living to your family in this new industry, and be proud of that. And that's why, don't use your goals as an indicator of how much progress you've made, because your goals are always in the future, and the progress you've made is in the past. And the last lesson, when you lose your focus, use the do, observe, correct technique to get it back on. So here's how it works. You start doing something productive, but pay attention to your concentration level. Notice when it drops. So you're in the process, you're sending out your thank you notes, you're touching base with your clients, you're doing that first thing in the morning, and all of a sudden you notice yourself starting to get off track. Then observe the behavior you'd like to change by asking yourself why you're losing your focus. Lastly, correct those negative emotions by seeing how they influence your productivity and really make everything seem worse than it actually is. Those negative emotions are just, spiraling yourself out of control, whereas you're probably in the comfort of your home or your office. It's really nice, and everything you're doing is taking you, to your end goal, and just muscling through this for a period of time matters big time. I love this this thing they talk about here, this quote, and I just gotta find it, and it says, if you can manage to shout out that bigger thing for an hour or two and just focus on the process, that's when real work gets done. Just shut it out, focus on what you're working on, and it's amazing. The Practicing Mind, great book.
Awesome. Next book is by Susan Cain, and it's called Quiet, the Power of Introverts. I really like this book because as I've gotten older, I used to be very extroverted, and now I am ridiculously introverted, and I'm good at being extroverted when I need to be. But I feel like, especially in this industry or in any sales industry or in any marketing industry, being extroverted is good, right? Like you almost need to get the introvertedness out of you. It's just the loud, boisterous, first person to the party, first person to open their mouth. That is seen as a very popular skill typically when you're in sales. And what I love about this book is that it really talks about the power that introverts bring to a table, the way that they think about things, the way that they look at different situations. And it also talks about how it's really okay to live a life that is true to how you enjoy doing things. If you would prefer to not go to a huge party and just have one person over to your house, learn how to just be totally okay with the fact that you're not going to go to those situations, how to put your life in order so that you're typically hanging out with 2 or 3 people versus 20 people. If you don't want to go to the company Christmas party, here's how you can still celebrate Christmas in a way that's meaningful to you. There's a full part on sales and how you should be working with people if you're not extroverted and what you can bring to the table that way. There's one quote that I really like from this book. So point is, if you find yourself to be a little bit more on the introverted side, I highly suggest you read this book because you'll be very proud of yourself and have some good strategies to live a much better life, true to your unique personality and the things that you enjoy. But I really liked this quote, and it said, "I'd always imagined Rosa Parks as a stately woman with a bold temperament." Everyone, Rosa Parks, lady on the bus who said she wouldn't go to the back. Quote, "I'd always imagined Rosa Parks as a stately woman with a bold temperament, someone who could easily stand up to a busload of glowering passengers. But when she died in 2005 at the age of 92, the flood of obituaries recalled her as soft-spoken, sweet, and very small in stature. They said that she was timid and shy, but had the courage of a lion. They were full of phrases like radical humility and quiet fortitude." So I think that there's many people that can probably relate to those sentiments that are often not always heard or the first in line to speak, but there's some good qualities in there and suggestions on how you can get those out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, my last book is called The Distraction Addiction. Getting the information you need and the communication you want without enraging your family, annoying your colleagues, and destroying your soul. It's by a guy named Alex Sujung King Pang. Awesome book. Now, here's the thing. One of the things that they identify is that distraction is nothing new. We talk about distraction with these devices, when in reality, distraction's been around for years. It's been, in ancient Greece, they referenced distraction, and in the Buddhist life, they talk about this thing called the monkey mind to represent the unsettled nature of the human consciousness. And so distraction is something we always deal with. One of the things that's really cool in the book is he differentiates multitasking as the ability to perform multiple tasks around a singular goal, and switch tasking as switching between unrelated tasks. So that is the one that we want to avoid, is that switch tasking, but multitasking would be okay as long as you're doing your tasks around a singular goal. So he talks about, in order to increase your mindfulness, make contemplative computing the way you use your technology. If you're going to pick up your phone, ask yourself, why? Like, why am I picking this up? Is it because I just need a hit and I'm just bored, I'm distracting myself? Or is it because I need to quickly look for that news article that I want to find? Or now's the time of my day where I'm going to check Facebook and I'm going to like a few things and then I put it away and I use it, because technology is a powerful tool. In fact, I don't think you guys should try to reduce your screen time. And they talk about this in the book, because if you have a family time and maybe you're playing a game together, maybe it's Wii golf or you're bowling or you're doing something to calm your mind, you're playing a game with your significant other, that's quality time that you guys can be interacting. So even my screen time, when I have my workout app open, I'm tracking my workout and I'm actually doing something, or I'm checking my heart rate on my watch because I'm running. That's quality screen time because I'm doing something good. It's the unquality stuff where you're doing it without it being conscious. So here's what I want to do, and just talk about really quickly the 8 steps they talk about towards contemplative computing. Be human, so make sure that you understand what's the difference between humans and computers, so make sure you're using that way. Be calm, be very attentive to what you're doing. Just, don't try to get off track. Be mindful. Do nothing for 2 minutes sometimes. That meditation, and we're only talking 2 minutes here, can get you reset, can get your head back in the game, and you don't have to feel like you need to run to the next device to try to make yourself feel good. Make conscious choices. We talked about that. Use technology deliberately. extend your abilities. Here's what's cool is that they talk about this thing called entanglement, and just like a warrior has a sword, or any type of animal uses a stick to make something happen, or a fisherman has a fisher rod, it's just a tool to help you accomplish a task, and that's all technology should be. It should be embraced as this entanglement, natural extension of ourselves that we pick up and put down with ease and without trying to get caught up on it or letting us rule its life. Engage with the world, approach and embrace technology methods to make the separation between you and technology fall away, and use or abstain from technology in ways that are restorative. This will renew your capacity for attention. One of the things they recommend, which I'd love to see some people do this, but disconnect for 1 day a week. If you can, completely disconnect from your phone, your laptop and such for 1 day a week, and that's a good reset for you. So that might be a big ask for realtors, but that's my last book. It's called The Distraction Addiction. I highly recommend it.
My last book is called A New Earth: Awakening Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle. So this is not a spiritual. It's not a spiritual book. It's complete. It's not religious at all. Any denomination could read it. The nice thing about this book, if you kind of start this, I have the physical copy of this book, and to me, there's something about holding a book and reading it that I just feel you identify with the pages a little bit more. That may sound like a weird thing to say, but there's many great books for audio. I think that this is a good one to actually hold if you want to buy a copy. It is also part of Oprah's book club, and she picks some pretty good books if anybody follows Oprah's book club. What I personally found that moved the needle for me when I read this book is it's all about not searching for happiness, because the seeking of happiness is often when we are in our most miserable states, because by seeking, we're identifying with something that we don't have versus recognizing something that we do have.
Common themes.
I
like it.
Common themes. It also talks about how, as an identity, being able to distinguish what your own identity versus identities that you'd like to have. So I can think of, for myself, sometimes there's certain tasks that I want to do. For example, I want to go to this really great restaurant with all of these friends on a Friday night because that's the cool thing to do, and I want to be seen as somebody who knows the city and knows the great places to go, and somebody who's going to bring everybody out for a really great time. Therefore, I'm going to book this engagement on a Friday night because I want to be the person who does that. Versus, am I actually the type of person that enjoys that activity? And if I'm not the type of a person that actually enjoys that activity, how can I make decisions more true to myself that are in line with things that I don't have to try and do to try and be? So the book really makes you look at yourself and evaluate your own identity in the moment and trying to find happiness within what you currently have versus what you're seeking to. The other thing I really like this book is that it focuses on you as a person versus the voice in your head. The voice in your head is defined by what society has put in as norms, that you should react to certain things, or this is why I'm going to be upset about this, or he said, she said, or I feel this way about myself because, but that's often a complete dialogue of other people's voices that are filling your head. So it teaches you to say, when I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about these things, can I step back and say, okay, like this is the voice in my head, and I can recognize what that voice is, and I'm going to have a conversation with that voice as myself, versus just reacting to all of the things that instantly come into my head, because more often than not, that little chirping isn't you as a person. It's just little chirping, and you need to be able to pull from that what you actually need and what you don't in a day. So, yeah, different takes on the books.
Yeah.
But yeah, great book. I really liked it.
It's good. So if one of these books resonates with you or two, then feel free to download them, and you guys can go from there. And this segment will be posted up. So if you're like, oh, which book was that again?
Yeah.
Just check back in the virtual office. It'll be in the video library and the Monday meetings. And you guys can go from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the meeting today and got some more clarity on the data side of things, and also maybe picked up one or two things from the book. Give you guys some summaries there, and that's it.
That's it. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next Monday for our Agent Pursuit segment with Gary Williamson.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in.